Welcome to Unfiltered STEM with the YPB. If you can, grab a drink, maybe a snack, and let's get started.
Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered STEM, and today we are starting on our New Year's resolutions. So a few of us on the board wanted to have a little bit of a reflection on what we liked doing in 2024 and what we want to take into the new year. So I'm going to kick us off straight away with Fiona. Do you want to tell us what you're taking into 2025?
Yeah, mine is to, it's been generally positive. Mine is to make more time for the stuff that I love. So that came from, especially towards the end of last year in the winter, I was getting really bad at just coming home and sitting on the couch and watching telly and doing nothing else. So towards the end of the year, I started getting a bit better when I was off work, started doing some little crafts and things in the evenings, and it just made me feel a lot better. So I'm making more time to just do stuff that isn't work, that makes me happy.
Oh, I
That's
love
so
that.
nice.
Because I've seen your cakes before. You sent a couple of photos in for the dump previously, and I thought they were like shop bought, commissioned somebody to do them. And then when I kind of looked at your comment, I was like, no, she's done this herself. My brain kind of blew up a little bit. I don't even know where you begin to start with that, because every time I start trying to decorate a cake, I lose the will to live. I don't know how you do it.
I need no one else in the room is where you start with that. It's stuff like that. Like I could do that in an evening after work and I would just never make the time for it. I would just come home, like sit in bed and watch TikToks and then have, well, that's the night done. But if I thought about it better, I could make more cakes because, yeah, I haven't done it much. I normally end up being like commissioned for the birthday cakes at home whenever I go home. And then I come back here and my lovely stand mixers here never gets used. So, yeah,
Aww.
I'd like to make more cakes. Yeah.
It's funny because, like, you know, often you come in from work and you're totally exhausted, and maybe the idea of doing something like that is like you maybe don't have the mental energy for it. But often these things that you love, you get energy from doing them. So if you don't get to that point where you sit on the couch, you open your phone, you start scrolling, and then end up in just like an endless loop of doom scrolling, and you just push past that. No, do you know what? I'm going to crochet a little bit, or I'm going to, bake a cake or whatever it is. I think you do many of these things. You do get the energy from it, and then rather than going to bed exhausted, you have that satisfaction that you've done something that you enjoyed and maybe made something out of it as well.
Like your little crochet mouse you did over Christmas,
Yeah.
Susie, that was...
Oh my
I've
God, I'm
never crocheted,
obsessed.
but that is so cute. It made me want to crochet. I did some embroidery as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, your embroidery was
Inspirational.
really nice. I liked it. That mouse, I'm actually obsessed. It's just this little crochet mouse that I found the pattern for on Etsy, but the person makes like all these different outfits for the mice. So now I'm just like obsessed, and I'm wanting to buy all her patterns to make all different outfits for these mice. So yeah, sorry I derailed it a little bit there, but yeah,
No,
very
you're
cute.
fine. I think I love stuff like this because I think all of us are probably really guilty of like feeling like everything we do has to be productive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I have to keep up my like Duolingo streak. I'm trying to read more. Like one of the things I said I was going to do for this year was read more nonfiction, and it's like by the end of the day, I'm fried. I don't want to have any more facts shoved into my
Yeah.
head. I want to kind of, but it's the same sort of thing. Like I get home and I'm exhausted. And I don't want to think about starting something new.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like almost if I reframed it, it was like, well, it's working different parts of my brain. It's the creative aspect. It's the like,
Yeah.
when I was saying about cake decorating being really difficult, like it's a troubleshooting sort of thing. It's like a figuring out how to make it all work together.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe that will motivate me to get into more creative stuff, because I always write myself off as like I'm not a creative person. So I keep debating trying like a little embroidery set. So I might start there.
You should. I mean, I think it's just finding the things that fill up your cup and prioritizing them, because it's not going to give you energy lying on the couch scrolling on your phone, is it? But I mean, even if you like, you don't have to be good at these things to enjoy them and get something from them as well. So yeah, definitely just go for it.
Give it a go. I, however, do have to be good at something to get enjoyment from it. I don't know how to get
I'm
over
a bit like that
I'm going to
myself, to be
cut
fair.
that bit out, but like... Okay, so the next one we have is a voice note, and that will be from Jessie.
Hi everyone, it's Jessie, Vice Chair of the YPB. My main resolution for next year is to continue working to be an active listener and being present. I often find myself at work scrolling through emails when in a meeting, not paying attention, and even outside of work, finding myself scrolling through social media instead of listening to someone or being present in the moment. And I found this really has impacted my attention span. Also, this year has shown me how important it is to take opportunities that arise. Putting myself out there has great rewards this year, and I'll continue this by starting an engineering apprenticeship in February and also representing the Institute of Water Southeast area as their new rising star. So I'm excited to see what 2025 has in store for me.
So impressive, isn't she? Well, everyone is, but
I know, it's moments like these where I'm like, again, like you suddenly get hit with a little bit of awe of how accomplished everyone is on the board, and like how lucky we are to get to... I mean, I feel like we could plug here. We are actually open for applications until, is it the end of the month? So if you do want the opportunity to come work with some really, really amazing, accomplished people, put the application in. I know I literally put my application in like 5 minutes before the deadline because I was like, there's no way they're going to take me. There's no way. Absolutely no way. And then I got to the interview and I was like, oh, okay, this is
it was the exact same. I only got told about it the day before, and my manager went, "You've got the day to do it. Don't do anything else. Do this today."
Oh,
And I
that's
thought,
nice.
kind of the same of they've got the confidence in me. Why not try it? And if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, it's a day. But yeah, it worked out.
And we all met each other. We were all in the same intake.
We
which was
were.
lovely.
We were. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've been so inspired by the rest of you being on the board, which has been amazing. Like I've benefited so much from it. So yeah, it's been great.
So that links us in really nicely with Jessie's second point. So we're going in the wrong order technically, but the second point of taking every opportunity you can.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in. I think when you're a young professional and you put yourself out there, putting yourself out there is a key thing because you might not get offered opportunities unless you ask for them or unless you show that you're available for them.
Taking every opportunity, you never know where they might lead.
Yeah, so you never know where these opportunities might lead, as long as you're open to them and you kind of show yourself being open to them. So I think that's brought the three of us here to this podcast, to the board, to a lot of the opportunities and a lot of the, I'm going to say the growth. I'm kind of speaking on your behalf here, but like the growth that I've had, especially in like my confidence and my knowledge and how I go about handling not only things in my professional life but also my personal life. I've been able to grow a lot because of this opportunity that I took. So definitely agree with Jessie's advice on that one. Being more present, yeah, I thought that was a really good one.
Yes.
Yeah, that one I feel quite strongly about the work part of it. Well, the home part as well, but definitely the work part. I get quite annoyed of the expectation on everyone now to be able to multitask when really it's making everything much worse that you're expected to do your work but also listen to this meeting. Like you think of it the other way, if someone spent hours putting together a presentation and you're sitting answering emails, and it's just because the expectation's been put on us to get so much done in one go when really you end up way less efficient doing it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree. And the same with if it's talking to friends. I would have some choice words if Jessie started scrolling through TikTok when we were talking to her.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And actually, like this is an example of why I love doing these things as well, because that's not really something that I've thought about. And as soon as Jessie said that, I was like, I do that.
Yeah.
And she's right. I need to make an effort to just be present. I'm thinking in a work sense, like in meetings, I do the exact same thing. I'm listening to the meeting, but I'm like checking something else. I've got something on in the back of my mind, like I need to reply to that person, I need to get back to them. I'm not contributing as effectively to that meeting as I could be. There's no point in me even being there really. Yeah, she's so right. I'm gonna take that on board as well. Thanks, Jessie.
I mean, it's a thing that my partner and I have picked up on is we'll get home. We're both really tired. Like we both obviously work. We both work really hard, and in very like brain power consuming job. I don't have a word for it. You see, this is the end of a work day. This is where I'm at. You know, I'm running on limited brain power, so I don't have. I'm not as efficient as I could be. I'm not as aware as I could be. I'm not as active listening as I could be. So we will sit in front of the TV watching whatever show we're on at the moment, um, and we will sit on our phones and we'll pick that up. And it's like, actually, we're not spending time together. We're spending time on our phones. Like, that's not spending time together. And so, yeah, it's the same thing as you, Susie. As soon as Jessie said it, I was like, oh, damn, I also do that. And I definitely should focus on it. And that's a really, really good point. And I think,
But once you stop doing it, you notice your attention span coming back so quickly. Like reading a book before bed instead of being on your phone.
Yeah.
It's a small change that I definitely like. I see the difference the days that I do it.
I was saying this to a friend because I've started working out a little bit more and more consistently and drinking more water and eating healthier food. And really annoyingly, I feel so much better for it. And it's frustrating that the things that people tell you are good for you are actually good for you and following or trying that
Damn, they were
advice.
right.
But yes, excellent points, Jessie. Thank you for that. Also, we love you. Just generally. Okay, so Susie, you're next on the agenda.
Yes, so mine's is super similar to Fiona's, in that I feel like in 2024 I made an effort to work towards a place of having a better work-life balance. So I almost feel like the phase of my life of just like work, 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 maybe compromising some of my out of work life for work. I'm trying to bring that to an end and work on having a kind of better work life balance. So towards the end of 2024, I've felt that happening. I've got a better work life balance now. I feel like I'm much more in control of it, which is great. I've got much more energy now outside of work. And so what I want to focus on in 2025 is being really intentional with my time outside of work. So that's like making plans, even during the week, like in the evenings. You know, if you finish work at 4, you've still got half a day. You don't have to just come home and, make dinner and go to bed. Like making plans outside of work to just really kind of maximize the outside of work time, seeing friends, catching up with friends, spending less time on social media. And yeah, just for example, last weekend, I had no plans, and so I said to my mum and my sister, "Why don't we just go to London?" And we went down on the Saturday, came back on the Sunday, and we're like, "We can do this more." It's super cheap. It was like 30 quid on the flights, because it's like nobody's traveling this time of year. But yeah, that was great, and I'm like, right, I need to do stuff like this more. So that is my focus for 2025.
I really liked one of the phrases you used of being intentional with your time. I like that, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do as well. And
Yeah.
like planning it, making space for it, making time for it, and not just letting it happen and sitting on the couch when you get home. Yeah.
Exactly. And like I definitely have spent too much time on my phone in the past, and I'm actually getting to a point where like I really don't enjoy it. Like I'm doing it and I'm not enjoying it as well. Like there was a time I was having a great time scrolling through my phone. I'm past that. And so I'm trying to spend less time on my phone. I've removed the Instagram app. I download it every Friday to post our dump, and then I delete it. And I'm actually really enjoying not being on it. So I'm just trying to like spend less time on my phone, spend more time like in person, just doing things that fill up my cup. So it's super similar to you, Fiona, but I think it's a good one to focus on. So yeah, we'll see what happens in 2025.
I'm like you. I'm very big on intentional stuff. So if my partner and I want to do a date, it's not a date if we sit there and watch a movie. It's a date if we go, okay, we're going to watch a movie, this night sort of thing. So I love this one. I try and be intentional with my time, but I've definitely fallen into a bit of like a habit with my phone. Of just like picking it up, scrolling through, flicking through, and I'm not taking anything in. There's nothing of interest. I'm just on it because it's there and I'm used to being on it. I did get really into the habit of scheduling. Almost like I basically treat them like dates, where me and my friends will go out and we'll do something, and it will be something that you could actually do with a partner, or like go on a date with someone. But it'll be like we'll find a cute bar and we'll dress up and we'll take pictures and we'll get some nice drinks, or we'll go. It's always intentional. I used to host little girls' nights as well, so I would like make focaccia and do like this, I think it was like camembert whipped ricotta with like honey, and it didn't take very much time, but we'd light some candles and we'd have a film going as well. We'd watch a film and it would just be nice to sort of relax. It doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need to be fancy. One night we decorated cookies for Galentine's Day.
Nice.
There's so many different ideas, and they don't have to be expensive, because I think the perception is they always end up like adding up. If you're going to a bar every night, yes, it would. Probably not good for your liver either. But there are a lot of ways of having that really nice intentional time that like it's the sort of time that makes you feel like you're glowing afterwards.
Yeah.
It's that like it feels like a proper hug. It's definitely something I want to pick up more this year. I'm kind of taking January as my month to just sort of rest. But I definitely want to start scheduling more intentional time. That sounds a bit about scheduling time, but it works for me.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I don't know why we were on the topic, but me and my partner were talking about. Do you remember when you were younger and like after school you'd like go in for your pal? So you just head out the door, you'd go and tap on your pal's door, and we were talking about like people that live on remote islands. They're probably still doing that, like in the evening, like they've got nothing to do, they go and just go down the road and go head into their pal's house for a cup of tea, and we just don't do that stuff. Maybe that doesn't happen anymore, but it would have happened in the past a lot. And I just, that's going to your pals, sitting chatting all night. You would get so much more from that than just sitting in yourself, even texting your pal, or just in reality, probably more likely ignoring the messages that people are sending you and just scrolling. I feel like the world has changed a wee bit.
I mean, what you're saying is basically we can come tap on your door anytime.
Of course. Of course you can. Anytime.
I'll let you know next time I'm in Glasgow.
So who's next? Is it Lily?
Yes.
Hi, it's Lily, and my top resolution for next year is to create a routine in my week, which includes time to sit with my own thoughts, with no distractions at all, and process my thoughts and feelings. I realised I was accidentally doing it through running, but since I've been injured, I've been struggling with feeling anxious and overwhelmed, so I hope this will help.
Nice. That's a super interesting one because I can totally relate to it, what she said about running, because I used to be a big runner and then I got injured and had to stop running, and running was like my time to process my thoughts and like put all the thoughts in my head in little boxes, and I had the same thing. I struggled to find a way, like something to replace that after stopping running. So I think that's really nice that she's kind of recognised that and is scheduling time in her week to just sit and do it, because you don't have to be running. It's just that when you're running, there's nothing else to think about. So yeah, that's really nice, because it's important to do that. It makes you feel so much better.
Usually when I'm running, I'm just thinking, this is really hard. I'm not sure I like this. How do I breathe? Can I run right? There's usually something going on in my brain along that. I'm trying to get into it because I do enjoy it, but my brain isn't at the quiet part yet, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I've started finding myself trying to do that the very limited times I've gone to the gym recently. But yeah, I was kind of the same as you, going, this is difficult, I'm fed up, I want to go home, versus like the last couple of times going in of using it as like a way to distract myself, but yet it ends up actually kind of being a bit more productive by the end of like I've managed to organise things a little bit in there.
Yeah,
Nice.
so full disclosure, didn't kind of come into this with an idea of what I was gonna sort of bring to the table, and I was sort of thinking about quiet time because I realised fairly recently that when I walk to work, I'm listening to an audiobook, so I'm focusing on that, which is great because it means the walk goes really quickly, but I don't have any time to sort of process. When I'm working, or I have music going, or people are talking to me, there's a lot of like your brain has to be switched on. Then I walk home from work and I've got an audiobook playing, or I'll go do a workout and there'll be some music playing, or I've been trying a lot of like different workouts recently, so I haven't got to the point where I'm able to have that moment to think. It is usually like I'm having to focus because it's a new like movement or it's a kind of tricky thing to think about. So I feel like I almost intentionally overwhelm myself so that I don't sit with my thoughts. Which
Do you ever feel though, like, when you're in that sort of routine, that you just need some time just to switch the podcast off and like walk home just with your own thoughts? Do you ever feel that, or are you
I think
avoiding
I get
doing that?
bored. I mean, I am looking at getting like an ADHD diagnosis at some point this year. This is one thing I'm
Okay.
kind of looking to do. Because I can't for the life of me sit still for more than a couple of minutes. And it's probably really frustrating for a lot of people around me because if I'm, trying to enjoy a nice relaxing day off with my partner, I can't because I've gone, oh no, there's dust up on the ceiling. I need to get that right now. And it always has to be right now. There's always like an urgency about
I'm
everything
exactly
I'm
the
doing.
same, honestly.
And it's knackering, and it probably actually makes me a really crap person to be around. I mean, I'm sure they'd never say that, but it's one of those things where actually I think if I had a little bit of quiet time where I was like, okay, what's going on? What am I actually worried about? I had therapy a couple of years ago, and she got really excited when I could feel my emotions on my body, and I kind of know when I'm doing a little bit too much, or I know when I'm a little bit overwhelmed because I stop. When you feel like so for me, if I feel like stressed, it's usually across my back and my shoulders. I can feel it. And if you're a bit nervous about something, it's in the pit of your stomach, or like on my neck, like on my chest. And those are really important feelings to have with your body. And I will sort of push myself until I can't feel them anymore, which is ridiculous, really. I'm copying Lily. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy Lily and have quiet time this year.
But
Even if I
that's
have
really
to
good
schedule
that you
it in.
can recognise that though, that you're aware of that, because then you can stop that from happening. Because I'm maybe for a long time before having that conversation with your therapist, you didn't know that you were doing that. Now at least you know, so you can do something about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an eye-opening thing. The more you connect with your brain and the more you connect with your body, I think there's a lot more. I think the more you know yourself, the better you can become, almost.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very deep.
Yeah, very deep.
It's actually now time for mine. So I've actually done a New Year's bingo. So I've got 9 different ones. I'm not going to go through them all, obviously. But I think the challenge I've set myself for this month, which is not helping with the overwhelm, really, is the 75 hard. I mentioned to the others earlier on, I actually haven't been doing 75 hard because I didn't realise a gallon of water is 4 litres of water. That's too much water. I'm not going to be doing that. That's not happening. But I think for me, it's less about the challenge of it and more about integrating movement into my life consistently, because it is a time where I do connect with myself a little bit better. And I need to get to a point where I can connect to myself better and be able to listen to my thoughts. I need to be able to space that out as thinking time. And I will get there, but it's sort of adjustment period. But for me, it is going to be connecting to my body more, because it's not for aesthetics thing. I think it's for when I'm older, I want to know that I can rely on my body. I want to know that, my bones are strong, my muscles are strong. I've got a joint disorder, so actually it's really important to make sure that I have got that muscle to support my joints. and it's just sort of I am healthy now, and I want to stay healthy for as long as possible. I want to be in my 80s, still being able to take as much out of life as I can.
Yeah.
That's all I
Yeah,
got. Sorry.
definitely. I was just going to say, I seen a guy talking about he's a personal trainer, and so he was saying that whenever someone comes to him and says, how soon will I see results, he immediately like terminates the contract. He says like that's not what this is about. It's about implementing mechanisms into your life where results are a byproduct. So like that's exactly what you were kind of saying there, B. You're trying to like the 75 hard is just a way of trying to get these things in your routine that you want to have in your routine, and the byproduct of that is that you're healthier, and so you'll live longer, your bones will be stronger, that kind of thing. So I think you've got the right attitude according to this random guy on the internet.
According to an article I read on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have of like it's just to make you feel better all rounded,
Yeah.
which I was saying to Susie earlier before you joined us. I should probably take that because I've got a heat patch on my neck right now because I woke up unable to move it properly after attempt number 2 at the gym this year. So yeah, getting a bit more movement going in, it's I mean it'll help with like all round just feeling better about yourself as well. But yeah, I think that's a good like a long term inspiration to say it's just to make your life better long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, I think there is a part of my brain it's tickling where I'm doing reformer Pilates at the moment, and I have a tendency to bounce from thing to thing to thing. So I was doing hot yoga for quite a while. I used to lift weights. I actually did that for quite some time. I did like martial arts. I've done like quite a few over the years. So I bounced from quite a few different things, and it's definitely interesting to see which hyperfixation has benefited my body in different ways. Um, so for weightlifting, for example, I could feel a lot more strength, but my flexibility went really down.
Mm.
With yoga, it was really interesting where I was working on balance. I'd never worked on balance before, and it was always the movements that I really hated because I was bad at them. But the more I practiced them, because obviously you're doing it in a class, or I was doing it in a class, so you do sort of stick with whatever the teacher's kind of telling you to. So they would do a balance, and I would do the balance, and I'd be like, "This sucks," but this sucks a little less than it did last time.
Mm.
And then it's really really rewarding where you go from something you probably wouldn't put much effort in. I said earlier on, I only like things if I'm good at them initially. It's a really bad attitude to have. I think I've spoken about this before on the podcast, but persevering with that, partly because I have to, because that's what the teachers told me to do, and that's what I pay the money to do. Persevering with it and then seeing the results is so rewarding, and it does kind of remind me in my personal and professional life as well. If I'm working on something and I'm not seeing the results, it doesn't have to be straight away. It can be a little bit later. You know, hopefully it's not 20 years down the line, but maybe it will be.
Yeah, but the result may just be you're feeling better. Maybe you've got more headspace, or you know, you just feel healthier. Your skin's better. I don't know. Like maybe that's the result. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I kind of
Yeah.
go to the gym and stuff. It's for my brain.
I think it's probably good as well to put it as a like a general all-rounded feel better goal because
Yeah,
then we all have a tendency to set like a numeric goal and then
yeah,
when you don't hit it for whatever reason you'll feel rubbish at the end of oh my
yeah,
god I didn't hit this weight, I didn't do this many classes at the gym, and you feel really disheartened even though you've done 100% more than you did last time.
yeah. Totally. And then I think often when you start something in the new year, if you then break it, you feel like, oh, what's the point in carrying on? But if the goal is feel better, then one day you might not have gone to the gym when you wanted to, but then the next day your goal is still to feel better. You've not failed that goal. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
I picked up the concept recently of deloading. And I think it's like a weightlifting sort of bodybuilding term, but it's essentially you will have rest days in order to, not rest days, but you'll have lower weight in order to sort of protect yourself, and then so you can hit the personal best later on in the week or later on, you know. And I actually think 75 hard's been helping me with this, because I'll always get my steps in. I think that's really good. Being outside is obviously incredibly beneficial. And then for the other sort of 45 minutes, if I'm feeling rubbish, I'm not going to try and push myself or push my body into something really hard, really difficult, really energy intensive. I might just stretch for 45 minutes. I might do yoga. I might focus on my breathing, but it's still getting my brain within my body, focusing on how I'm feeling physically and mentally, and taking that time for myself, which I think is still really important, even if I'm not hitting a personal best every single day.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got to just be kind to yourself as well. Like
definitely.
what you were saying before about like wanting to get a bit more in tune with when you feel things in your body. Like I know I need to be a bit kinder to myself depending on like where I am in my cycle. Like I might just
Yeah,
it might not be possible that day to even be in the gym 20 minutes. Like it might be 15 minutes and I'm dead, but I went and I'll feel a bit better and I know that it's just one of those days and it'll be different the next time.
totally.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we have Lucy's one next.
Okay.
Hi, it's Lucy. My New Year's resolution is to prioritize myself more. That is both in terms of my own personal accountability, so having better morning routines, for example, but also in terms of saying no to things. I definitely take on way too much and try to people please, but it does come at my own detriment. So yeah, making sure that I look after myself more.
That we've all kind of come around to the same point of just being a bit happier and giving yourself a bit more grace. Um, but Lucy had mentioned one in there on like her morning routine, and I remembered, I don't know, it must be months ago now, but I just remember her mentioning she used to wake up in the morning, doom scroll on her phone, like it's come up, and her morning routine would take her ages, and she'd get into work and she wouldn't have a parking space, and she decided to wake up at the same time but just actually get out of the bed, and she had like a full extra, almost an hour extra in her day, and it made such a difference that yeah, that stuck with me of when she said that. I was like, right, just don't change that much and you might actually see quite a big difference in your
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
It's like where do you want to spend your time? If you had, at the end of the day, a summary of you spent an hour on TikTok. I keep picking on TikTok. It's all sorts of apps, really. But like, you spent this long on this, you spent this long at work, you spent this long annoyed in traffic, you spent this long thinking about going to the gym and not going to the gym, or thinking about going to the gym and then you eventually went to the gym, but the time you spent hating the idea of going was longer than actually go. Like, how much of that would you actually regret, and how much would you want to? And I think there's definitely give yourself grace. Some days just don't go to the gym. Don't do it. If it's going to be the worst thing of your day, do not do it. But I think sometimes we spend so long disliking the idea of like getting up and getting out of bed. Actually, it's probably not so bad. And if you can sort of get yourself into the habit of doing it, it's probably going to be way more enjoyable, and you'll give yourself way more time to do things you actually like.
I think it's
Yep.
the same with like work wise of say it's applying to the YPB or say it's applying to like a new role in work or sending that email to kind of say I'd like this opportunity or I'm available to help. I know personally I spend so long stressing about like the wording of the email. How's the
Yeah.
person going to think? Like what tone do they think I've used in this? The way I've written it, and it's all stuff that when you are on the receiving end, you don't really think of it that much. And the amount of time I waste fretting about it always ends up being more than the amount of time the actual thing takes. That just taking a second to think, right, do I really need to stress? Can I just put the energy into doing it and I'll probably feel better when it's done if I hadn't
I
considered every outcome going badly.
I do the exact same, Fiona, and I've started like just on the topic of rereading emails lots of times and like agonizing over it before sending it. I often look at the responses I get from the emails, and
Mm.
it's so often it's like a rushed response. There'll be like all sorts of grammatical errors, or you can tell that it's somebody's got the email, they've read it, they've replied, and the way they've done it is just so much more efficient than how I've done it. They're not worrying about, like, how it sounds, or I wonder how they're going to take it. I hope this doesn't sound too harsh. I hope this doesn't sound too soft. They're just speaking as they would to me in person. And I don't take that email as, oh, that's a bit harsh, or oh, that's a bit soft. I take it and I take the information and I go away and I use it. So I've started like intentionally looking at how people respond to me, and that's helping me relax in how I'm communicating over email. But it does take time, and I have the same thing.
I have to remind myself, because I think I said this in a meeting and somebody's like, wow, this is great advice. I do not follow it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's other people's responsibility to respond to you. So if you send an email and somebody thinks, wow, Susie came across like really horrible, they've got to tell you that. Or they just sit with that in their brain.
Yeah.
It's not your responsibility to sort of decide what people think.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. And it's kind of pointless. I mean, I still do it. I have to try and remind myself not to.
Yeah.
If I send an email and they think I'm, really rude, I know I'm not.
Yeah.
So that should be all that matters.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think, well, it sounds like all of us worry a little bit too much what other people are thinking.
It's on them, though. It's on them to, that's their opinion to make. And they're allowed their opinion.
Yeah.
They can be wrong about you. But,
Exactly. You're right. You're right. The other thing I want to pick up on that Lucy said is she was talking about opportunities and not saying yes to everything, which I think is really interesting in combination with Jessie's, because I agree with both of them in that you should review every opportunity that comes to you and consider it and make sure that if you're doing it for the right reasons. So yes, take every opportunity that's going to benefit you in some way. Make sure that you're not just saying yes to everything to benefit others, and make sure that you're prioritizing yourself. You're not going to burn yourself out by saying yes to everything. So also it's okay to be a little bit selective with the opportunities that you choose to take on. You don't have to take everything that comes your way, but absolutely seize those that you think are going to be a benefit to you. So yeah,
It's
good
important as
combo.
well to remember that, if you take on too much, it's not going to benefit anyone, because you're going to be stressed and burnt out, but also the people that you're, I don't know, whatever it is you're volunteering for or signing up for or doing work for, they're not going to get the best out of you.
Yeah.
So no one's really winning. They're going to have probably not the best work from you, probably not the best picture of you, because you've not been able to put all your effort in that you'd really want to.
Totally.
I was definitely guilty of this last year. And it was, I was distracted from my work. I was not doing my best work. And then I was sort of feeling a little bit rubbish because things hadn't been as good as I wanted them to be, or it felt like a chore. And I think there's probably a lot of things in my life that are going to be hard work, but I should look at them and go, okay, well, I did it. It was good fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or I got this out of it. And I wasn't. I was already in the sort of lead up thinking, oh God, I've got to go do this or that, or I have to do this thing for this person, or, I volunteered to do this months ago when I was, way more optimistic about how much time I had. And actually, if I'd said no to half of those things, I probably would have had a much better time at the other half.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been sat there stressing I'm taking away time from my work, or I'm away from, my partner, and, I'm not seeing friends because of this. Actually, yeah, I should have said no to way more stuff. I think we gave this advice in our 2023 roundup.
It was my advice.
Yeah, and
it was.
I did not follow it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Look, it's really hard. I don't mean to be it's okay, B. Try harder next time.
Do better.
It is really, really difficult, especially when you're in you're early on in your career, and you're in that phase of life where it feels like everyone around you is working super, super hard and saying yes to everything. It's very, very difficult to get the balance, and I have not got the balance right a lot of the time. I've spent too much time working for whose benefit? Oh, the person 3 rungs above me to look better at the end of the day.
Who
But
probably doesn't even know your name.
No, probably not. But it's very, very difficult to get the balance. And, we're probably going to be trying to strike that balance for the rest of our careers. But I think, particularly now when we're learning a lot, we're wanting to, experience a lot.
I think
Yeah.
in some seasons are going to be you're working yourself in private, you're kind of collecting yourself a little bit more, and then like maybe the next season you've prepared yourself so much, you've got a little bit more energy, you can do more things.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like you ever have to limit yourself to I'm only going to do one thing a month or one thing a quarter, whatever the number is. I think actually limiting that could be a bad thing. But evaluate everything.
Mm-hmm.
How much energy have you got now? How much energy do you think you're going to have for it? Is it actually something you're going to look forward to? Is it something you're going to get something out of? Because you should be getting something out of it. Even if it's you're getting knowledge out of it, you're meeting someone you really want to meet. There's someone you think could contribute to your career or become a mentor, or if it's something you're going to get more money out of, no shame in that. It should be something you get something out of. You should not be
Totally.
giving yourself for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the main thing I like about Lucy is she's doing this for a better her. She's not, looking to get a better morning routine so she can give more time to work. I know she does work very hard. I'm not going to take that away from her. But she's doing a better morning routine so she's happier and healthier and has more of herself to herself, not to give out to everyone else.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's a proper soapbox.
I was going to say, just to add on to that last conversation we had, I have started slightly underestimating how much time I think I have for things, because so many times in the past I have looked at an opportunity and thought, yeah, I can pretty much squeeze that in. And every single time, if I think I have enough, like if I think I've filled up, right to 100%, I've gone to 120. So I have started kind of thinking, I think I could take that on, but maybe I shouldn't, and kind of almost scheduling in my head to 80%. Because when that eventually equals 100, I'm not over the 100. So I've started trying to do that, and actually I'm doing better, and I'm doing that as well with like also scheduling things outside of work. So that you have some time at the weekend to yourself as well.
It's like, the friend who you'll tell a time like half an hour earlier than it's actually happening.
Yeah.
So, for example,
100%.
I'm hosting a meeting with the board and I will be telling everyone a time earlier than the last time that everyone can be there, because we all do it. We all get a little bit time blindness. But I think it's like that. You try and ram too much in and suddenly like, oh, it's Sunday, I have work tomorrow and I'm exhausted because I've had no time for myself because I've prioritized literally everything else above me.
Yeah.
We're all really bad at it at every in-person board meeting, because we get so into the conversations and so invested that we always run out of time by the end, because we always try and squash too much in.
Yeah, it's really sad. I love our board meetings, but they need to be like 2 days. New year, new us. Probably not quite. But those are the things that we're going to be taking into 2025. So if anyone's had any inspiration, if they want to give us any inspiration, feel free to leave a comment, feel free to reach out and let us know. And thank you for joining us. Have a lovely evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time we're listening to this, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.